And we're live. Hi, everybody. My name is Matthew Coast, and I'm here with the beautiful and wonderful Helena Hart.
Hey, everybody.
And today we wanted to talk to you guys about feminine energy, right? Feminine magnetism, this thing that we've been talking about. There's been a lot of people that have had a lot of questions about what feminine magnetism is, what feminine energy is, right? What does it look like? How do you use it? Why do you even care about this thing? Is this important? And so I wanted to go over a bunch of different things and kind of talk about it and discuss what the value is of feminine energy, how to use it, why it's important, what it looks like, what a feminine energy man looks like, what a feminine energy woman looks like, kind of discuss some of the myths that we have around feminine energy. There's a lot of kind of myths and just false information out there around what feminine energy is and how to use it to attract and keep a guy. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to use feminine energy to attract a guy. Like very, very specific things. That's the last thing that we're going to be talking about is exactly how to use it, how to get into your feminine energy, how to use it to attract a guy, how to be awesome with it. And hey, Fiona. Hey, Nika, is that? Hey guys, how's it going? If you're new here, make sure that you leave a comment. Say, hey, I'm with you guys. If you're here with us right now, we really love comments. So, and if this is your first time to our channel, make sure that you go and hit the subscribe button down on the bottom, on the bottom right-hand side of the video, to get more videos on how to have the relationship that you've always wanted.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so sorry. Should we unplug the headphones because this is going to just be picking up through the headphone? That's my only. Is that
it's
normal?
not going to pick up through the headphones.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm positive about this. I mean, I unplugged it anyway. Helena's got a little bit of OCD, so sometimes we have to work together to make sure that everything's good. So let's jump into the why here, right? So why feminine energy, right? So why is this important? Why would you want to use this? The why is, so the first thing that I want to talk about is it's authentic. Right? This is not a manipulation tactic, right? This is a powerful way to authentically connect with a man, like really connect with him in a way that's really, really powerful, but also authentic. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. It's a lot of people, like one of the common misconceptions is like, well, I'm just not really a feminine person. So I feel like that would be pretending or I'd be faking it. And it's the opposite of that. It's not a game and it's not a short-term strategy. You know, it's something that's going to give you long-term lasting results. So
yeah,
like right off the bat.
Absolutely. It's great. It's great. And another thing is that it's natural, right? So we kind of mentioned that a minute ago. It's like, it's a natural thing. It's a part of our biology. Both men and women have feminine energy, right? We all have feminine, we all have masculine energy. And we connect to our feminine and masculine energy to different degrees. And it allows us to do different things in our life. And we'll talk a little bit more about what it allows us to do. But one of those things is attract each other in an authentic and powerful way without using manipulation tactics. So the next one is that it feels good, right? So Helena can kind of talk from a woman's standpoint. Yeah. But I know for me, at least, like being in my masculine, it just feels really, really good. You know, when I started learning about masculine energy and started stepping into it, I felt just like I was at home. Like I felt like I was in the right spot. Like I felt like I was important. I felt like I was being recognized as a man. You know, for one of the first times in my life, and so it was a really powerful place for me to kind of step into my masculine energy. You want to talk about?
Well, I do want to say sometimes it feels unnatural at first, and I hear that from a lot of women, especially if you're used to being in your masculine energy. If you are, if you're working or even when you're raising kids, a lot of times you're you can get stuck in your masculine energy because there's a lot of like giving and doing involved in that. So for a lot of women, I hear them say it feels really unnatural at first, but it definitely becomes more second nature once you get used to it, and it starts to feel really good.
Yeah, and I can say that even with masculine energy for guys, right? So one of the things that we live in right now, at least in the United States, and this is similar in other countries too. I've traveled all over the world, and I've met people from all over the world, and a lot of people all over the world are having very similar problems, right? We have more feminine men than ever before in human history. We have more masculine women than ever before in human history, at least our recorded history. And so a lot of guys are coming from the space of being feminine. And I've seen a lot of this kind of talk in our comment sections about these feminine guys that women are meeting, and a lot of the challenges that come up from meeting these feminine guys and what to do and how to interact with them. Well, a lot of these guys they don't have strong male role models in their life. They don't have anybody to show them what it means to be a man, what it means to be a gentleman, how to step into their masculine energy. And I remember when I first started getting into my masculine energy, it was weird. It just felt weird, but as I started, like I said, as I started to get into it, it was like it started to feel at home. It started to feel natural. It started to feel like, wow, this is something that I've been missing in my life for a very long time. And I can see how important it is to me in my life. And since, I started getting a little bit of a taste of it, it was like I started stepping into it more and more and more. And now people consider me a masculine man.
Definitely.
and it's cool, and it feels good. Yeah. And I love it. I feel, it's great, and it's very attractive. And being feminine is very attractive to men.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very attractive. It's powerful. It's powerful stuff. Like when we talked about this in another video, but like when a guy walks into a bar and he sees a feminine woman, it's like she stands out with all the other women that are around, because most of the women aren't in their feminine energy. And to a guy, like that level of feminine energy, like that women have, it's like mesmerizing, and it's attractive, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what you'll hear guys say things like, I don't know what it is about her. I'm just so like into her. I'm just so attracted to her. And that's kind of the feeling that a guy gets when a woman's in her feminine energy.
Yeah, definitely. It's like they can't put their finger on what it is exactly, but it's like attracting him from a biological level, a primal level. Primal
level.
Yeah.
And so the last thing about the why was that it's a long-term thing, right? So it's something that you can relax into, that you can sit back into, and keep a man attracted for a long, long time. Like a lot of these games and stuff that are being taught, and people are asking about, and people are teaching. There's a lot of games going on out there on both the men and the women's side. And the problem with games is that you got to play these games forever in order for them to work, and it's exhausting. It's like, oh my God, I got to say some crazy thing again, and I got to figure out how to get them to chase me again, and I got to do all this stuff. And it's just exhausting long term. And being in connecting with the primal parts of yourself is a lot easier to do for a long-term period of time, and it feels a lot better, and it's a lot healthier, and it's a lot more attractive.
Yeah.
And it's not one of those things like, part of the problem with games is that guys figure this stuff out, right?
I was just gonna say
there's a whole like the whole men's dating side. There's a lot of women that get on there like, why aren't you talking about men's side? And that's a whole topic that I can talk about in another video. But a lot of times women, there's a whole men's dating side, right? And a lot of them are figuring this stuff out, right? They're looking for ways that people are manipulating them, right? So that they don't get into a bad relationship. Because that's a lot of times what happens. A lot of times women might have some bad intentions, right? And she might not be good for this guy, but she's trying to trick him into getting into this commitment. And long term, it's not healthy. It doesn't work. It leads to resentment. It pisses him off, and it makes it so that the guy's like running.
Right.
And if he figures it out, he will run, and he'll be resentful, and he'll hate you for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But if he finds out that you're getting into your feminine energy, it's like, it's like, to a guy, it's like this mysterious, cool, interesting, like kind of hot, like thing that you're doing that he doesn't fully understand, but it's really, really cool.
Yeah, totally. The games and the superficial stuff, it's all about him. You can feel how masculine energy that is. Like, I'm going to do something or strategize to try to get a guy to give me what I want from him, for example. And it can't be about him, because just like some of this other stuff, he might not be able to tell what you're doing exactly, but he can tell you're doing something, right? Like, he can tell you're doing something to try to affect him in some way. So feminine energy is all about you. It's all about yourself. And that's why you can keep it going forever. All of the games and stuff, it might get you short-term results, but they'll never get you the lasting results.
Yeah, that was a very, very powerful thing that she said. It's about you, right? And so, and even a lot of times when we talk about feminine energy, women still make it about the guy, right? It's like, how do I get him to do this? How do I make it about him again? Right? And it's not about him, it's about you. And that's where it comes. And when you make it about you, when you make it almost selfish, right? That's when it becomes powerful, because it's not, the focus gets shifted from over on him to over on you, and all of a sudden you start glowing.
Yeah.
You become this light. And it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, in a lot of my videos, I talk about taking your focus off of a man and putting it on yourself, and getting into your feminine energy is a great way to do that, because it just draws him back towards you. It creates this like pull towards you.
Yeah, so we're getting a lot of comments here. Tell us, how'd you do that? How'd you change? Mitzi McBee, cool name there. Sat back and was quiet. Wants to know where I went. Okay, so can you give examples? Okay. Okay, can you tell us how? Yeah, so so this whole video is going to be about feminine energy. If you missed the beginning, we're going to be talking about feminine energy. We just went over kind of the why this is important. Next, we're going to get into kind of the what it is and what it looks like, and all that kind of stuff. And so we'll give you examples. We'll give you ways to get into it. If you're new to our channel, make sure you go and hit the subscribe button to get more videos on how to have the relationship that you've always wanted. And if you're here with us right now, we've got a lot of people watching. Just say, hey, I'm with you guys. Hey, I'm here. Say something like that.
It's so weird not being able to see that. I can't see
that. I know. If you could see it, all you'd be doing is staring at it. So we're not going to go there right now. So let's talk a little bit about what this is not, right? Before we end up talking about what it is. So what this is not is there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what feminine energy is. And one of the things that it's not is it's not weak, right? So there's kind of this perception that being feminine means that you're weak. And I just in no way agree with that whatsoever. I mean, there's definitely like did you want to say anything?
Yeah, it's not weak. A lot of women say it feels so passive, or it feels like I'm just not doing anything and I have to sit around and wait for the man to do everything, and if he doesn't, then I'm just kind of standing there doing nothing. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I really think being in your feminine energy is like the most powerful place you could possibly come from when it comes to attracting a man, making him fall in love.
Yeah, and so there's kind of this perception too, like it's this thing where you're insecure or you're not being very confident. And I want to draw a distinction here. There's masculine and feminine, and then there's confident and not confident. And if you've ever met, like, I have a good friend of mine, and he's a feminine energy guy. And he's a really cool guy. I love him to death. I get along with a lot of feminine energy guys. I don't know what it is, but we get along usually pretty well. And this guy is super feminine. I mean, he's like, wearing just fun stuff. He's dancing around all the time. He's really touchy. He's really kind of expressive, and he does all these things, and he's really cool, but he's really, really confident, right? And I see women that are like that as well. I see women that are just, all into their feminine energy, and they're flowing, and they're doing all these things, and they're very, very confident. And I see men who are masculine and are very insecure, right? And there's this thing that came up about in our comments section about men approaching women, and what people kept saying was like, oh no, I'm looking for a masculine guy who will just come and who's confident and will just come and approach me. And it's like the guy can be masculine and be very insecure and not confident and not come and approach you, right? Because it hasn't that. Those are two completely separate things that have nothing to do with each other. There's the confident and there's the confident, unconfident, masculine, feminine. Just two completely different things. You can be confident and feminine, and insecure and masculine, and any combination of those. It's like, wait, am I doing the Macarena right now? Yeah. Were you gonna say something?
That was literally, you just took the words out of my mouth. Two completely separate things.
Yeah, two completely separate things. So the next one that I wanted to mention is that it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. So there's a lot of women that are like, they see this woman who they perceive as a feminine woman, and she's like this ditzy blonde girl. This is the stereotype. She's like this ditzy blonde girl at the bar that's like bopping around and stuff. And they go, I don't want to be like her, right? And that is not necessarily what your feminine energy is going to look like. And so what you have to do is get connected with your feminine energy, and then your expression of that is going to be your own. It's going to be unique to you, right? And so looking at somebody else's feminine energy and thinking that is what feminine energy is for all women, so you don't want to be like that, that's not a reality. Like, that's not what feminine energy necessarily is going to look like for you. And so I just wanted to address that myth, because it was like, I get that a lot. They're like, oh, I don't want to be that dumb blonde at the bar.
Yeah, totally. Or people say, well, I'm just not naturally like perky and upbeat, and it's actually not being about, it's not being that stereotypical. If you're feeling, let's say, upset or angry about something, if you're coming from your feminine energy, you're going to be really feeling those things and expressing them authentically. So it doesn't just look like what you think being feminine looks like. It's about being authentic, expressing how you're feeling in a really clear way.
Right. And so kind of going into that, the next point is that it's not pretending like you're someone you're not, right? It's not like pretending like you're this person in order to attract a guy. That's like going the opposite direction. That's going back into the masculine, or into the masculine, and into not even just masculine, but like this fakeness around that masculine, so that you can get something from somebody. And that's like literally the opposite. It's about getting in touch with this primal part of yourself in order to express it in a certain way, and do a bunch of other things, which Helena's probably better at talking about and understanding.
Yeah.
And so the next one is manipulation. It's not about manipulation. We just said that. And it's not about getting something, which we also just said. So it's not about getting something or doing something or making a guy do something. One of the benefits of it is that it does all those things, right? It not all of those things. It doesn't manipulate him, but the benefit of it is that it does things to a guy and makes him feel really attracted to you in certain ways that you can't get without it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was going to say, like, the minute you make a man the goal in your mind, and I know it can be easy to do this, I hear from a lot of women every day who are coming from that place, like, how do I get this guy back, or how do I make him fall more in love with me, or anything like that. You're kind of, you can't help it. You're going to feel compelled to, like, go after him or prove yourself to him or win his love, and just feel how masculine energy that is. Like, I feel like even just leaning forward, like, I'm going to go after this guy. He's the goal, he's the prize, and I'm going to do what it takes to get him. And what we're talking about here is the complete opposite, leaning back and inspiring him to come towards you in a way that's going to not be manipulative, and that's going to, you can keep it going forever. It really becomes like second nature once you kind of get it down.
Yeah, and so next I'm going to talk about like what does feminine energy, what does masculine energy look like, and what's kind of the division in this. And I actually spent a long time studying this stuff. I really like spent a long time, and I was like, what does this look like? What does this feel like? What is this, what's the experience of this? Because I really wanted to kind of get into it, and so I did a lot of research on this stuff. And here are some of the things, right? And I'm just going to go through the list and just quickly say what these different things are. First, on the feminine side. So feminine attributes are things like embracing or searching for fullness, right? Going into fullness. Another one is beauty, right? Being beautiful, connecting with beauty is all a feminine trait. Communing with like nature, with animals, with babies. You probably see this a lot with
What?
with women who like are into like babies and animals and stuff like that. And it's like I said, everybody's got feminine and masculine inside of them, and so these are just feminine, like far side feminine type of things that you'll witness.
I thought you were gonna make fun of me, but like how I am with Leo, with like what I.
Yeah, okay.
He always calls me a cat lady, but no, really, like when I, you guys see Leo in a lot of my videos, right? Like when I'm looking at his face, I can't possibly be up in my head thinking about something else. It like forces me into the present moment, and that's what a lot of these things are talking about. Getting out of your head and into the moment, so you can actually experience it while it's happening.
So the next one is experiencing love and loving others, right? So being in this experience of love, like a lot of people will talk about love, that's a very feminine thing, right? Being in that experience of love and loving others and being connected and focusing on that is a very feminine thing to be a part of. Celebrations, right? That's a very, very feminine thing. Well, I was just thinking about my lack of celebrations and things. And celebrating is a very feminine thing. Having dancing, having fun,
never thought about it like
celebrating
that
stuff. Yeah, well, that's why some of this stuff is
that
really. That's why a lot of this stuff is really interesting because you don't even think about it.
I'm
sometimes.
always like, let's celebrate. And you're like, no, I don't want to celebrate. Just on to the next.
We got to go to the next thing we're doing. I'm getting things done.
I never thought.
Gonna get the next thing done.
These are really good. These are great.
Food, textures, senses, right? Like experiencing different textures and things. It's that's feminine, right? Like that's being in connection with the feminine. Creative and expressive, right? Creating things, designing stuff, like just flowing with creative design and ideas coming out. That's a very feminine thing. Relaxing into effort, right? So it's not making things happen, but it's relaxing back into whatever type of effort that's going on. And then there's flow, which is kind of attached to that as well, which is kind of just going with the flow, right? Feeling things out. A lot of women talk about their intuition, right? And being connected with their intuition and going with that intuition, listening to it and feeling it and going with it. And partner dancing, there's kind of like the masculine and feminine. If you've never gone partner dancing, you should. That's my recommendation, first off. It's a great lesson in masculine, feminine energy, and you'll learn a lot about yourself. I did swing dancing for about 3 years, like really a lot. I did it like a couple times a week for 3 years, and I learned so much about being masculine. I learned about leading and like I'd have these different partners, and the women would like, you could really tell, you could tell a lot about a woman based on how she would connect with you, right? And so if I was like trying to lead a woman and she was like rigid and pulling back, it was kind of almost like a reflection of who she is as person. In her life right now, like what stage she's in her life, like how she's connected to that, right? And it's a really, really powerful way. Kind of gotten off on that, but The next one is movement, right? Being like the flow, coming off of that flow is like being in movement. And you'll see, like a lot of different types of dance will go into kind of flowing movement, and you'll see women kind of, like that are connected with their feminine, just flowing around and being in their feminine energy. Sound, so music, all that kind of stuff is part of the feminine. Openness, connection, so being connected to people, being open, opening yourself up is very feminine. That's being connected to the feminine. Touch and pleasure experience throughout the body, so feeling parts of your body, being connected, touching yourself, like that. Those are parts of feminine. I'm trying to make this as non-sexual as humanly possible here. Decorations, right? Like decorating things, like making things beautiful, like making things look great. That's part of the feminine. Lots of stuff is generally part of the feminine.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. I'd have to go back into where I saw that. But gardening is like a hobby, like a feminine hobby. Emotion, right? Being connected with your emotions is a feminine thing, and a lot of people are talking about men being connected with their emotions, and that's, part of it's about that feminine, right? And men can kind of get lost into that, just like a lot of women can get lost in their masculine. Fun, just having fun, and, that's part of the feminine. And like I said, everybody's got it feminine, everybody's got masculine. And that list that I just kind of read off was a small, very, very small chunk. I have this massive list on my computer about like what feminine and masculine, and it's just huge. It's a huge list. Looking at different things like, even shapes, like shapes, round shape is a feminine shape, right? So bright colors are feminine color. There's so many different aspects to this all over nature and the world and everything. It's really, I think it's a fascinating thing to study. Yeah. So let's talk about masculine. What is masculine? Like, what does this look like when you're looking at something that's masculine?
Oh, can I add something really
quick?
Yeah,
go ahead.
A lot of these you could really tell. It's like a lot of people say, well, masculine is like doing something and feminine energy is doing nothing. And that's kind of like a simplistic view. I guess it's okay to think of it, but I was just, when you were reading that list, it really struck me like a lot of these are about doing something. Like loving is doing something. Getting in touch with your emotions is doing something. So when you're getting into your feminine energy, it might not look like you're doing anything on the outside, but experiencing the moment, getting into the present moment, getting out of your head into your body, those are all doing things. Those are all things you can do that will, for example, take your focus off of a man and put it on yourself, which is what inspires him to come towards you.
Yeah. Great stuff, Lena. Over here taking notes,
okay.
Taking notes on what Helena's saying. It's very, very good stuff that she's got going on over here. All right, so next I'm going to talk a little bit about masculine, right? And so you can kind of look at these two different things and just, yeah, pixie doll touching stuff. Yes, it's all in there. Yeah, she asked, someone asked, can I put it in the description? I'll put this in the description later. So, yep, feminine energy. Oh, thanks. We look great together. Thanks, guys. Aww. Hey, if you guys are joining us, if you're here, make sure you comment and just say, hey, I'm with you guys. In our comments section, we love to get comments from you guys, so thank you so much for being here and commenting. If you're new to here, make sure you hit the subscribe button to get more videos on how to have the relationship you've always wanted. And so if you're just showing up, we're talking about feminine, masculine energy and how to attract a man. And next we're going to talk about more of masculine energy, what that looks like. And then we're going to dive into, how to get connected to your feminine energy so that you can attract a guy, so that you can, when you're meeting up with a guy, you can be on a date in your feminine energy and be really, really attractive to him. Or you can be in your relationship and you can kind of get into this habit where you're connecting with yourself and you're connecting with your kind of primal feminine energy so that you can maintain that deep connection with your guy and he can stay in love with you and fall in love with you and really take on that masculine role where he's kind of stepping up and being the man in your life. So masculine energy, what does that look like? It looks like one, winning and losing, right? So that it's a very focused thing for men, right? You'll see them in competitions. It's win, lose, how am I doing? They want to know if they're winning or losing with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? That's a big thing that men want to win. They want to win as much as they can. And so, it's kind of like this competition thing, right? Competition is a masculine thing.
Men have these like filters where almost everything goes through this filter of am I winning or am I losing? Where I found that women have a different filter. It's like, do I feel loved or do I not feel loved in the moment? So that's kind of the distinction there, typically speaking.
Yeah. So the next one is nothingness, right? So it's like this empty void, right? Where the masculine is. And I kind of experienced this. There's kind of like these two different sides. I spent a lot of time in my life kind of studying religion, and there's kind of these two different sides of like this, like Eastern, like meditational, like the meditational religions, right? Like Buddhism, Hinduism. Like there's like Zen, right? Which is kind of this far step into nothingness, and it was a very masculine thing. And if you go and visit Zen temples, it's usually overcrowded with dudes, and there's like hardly any women there. And it's a very masculine thing. It's just you sit and meditate. There's nothing there, right? And then the opposite side was like some of these Hindu temples that I've been to and seen, where people are like dancing around and they're having fun and they've got music and all these different things, and it's a totally different experience. But yeah, nothingness. It's like this void, this reach for creating something almost, coming from this space of nothingness. Organization, structure. So like structuring things, like being in your head, analytically figuring things out, organizing stuff. Simplification, masculine, linear, right? Going straight forward, like feminine is like this spread out thing, right? There's this great book out there called The Way of the Superior Man by David Data, and he talks a lot about these different things as well. And one of the things he talks about is kind of like this, like men are like on this path, right? They're on this like linear thing where they're like, okay, this is what I see, this is the purpose. The masculine is, right? Like if the man is in his masculine, he'll see this kind of this world that he wants to go to, and he's on this straight line going there. And like the woman is almost like this, or the feminine is almost like this dance around it and through it, and in and out of it. And it kind of like for a guy it can become this distraction, right? And then he'll like decide, he makes decision, the masculine decides if it wants to bring that feminine, or if it has room for that feminine on its journey. If that feminine is nurturing and healing and positive for him, he'll want that on his journey that he has in his life. So that's that. Achievement, like going for things, like trying to achieve something big. That's a masculine trait. Quiet, sitting in quiet, or having quiet, no noise, no stuff that's like hardcore masculine stuff. Intellectual pursuit, being super in your head, thinking about things a lot. That's being in your masculine. Dark, gray, void of color is very masculine. It's one of the things that I love is dark stuff. I don't know what it is about it. I love dark stuff. And I get women all the time that are like, "Hey, you should put on some color on that." And I'm like, nope, not gonna do it. I don't know. It's a masculine thing. So strength, big muscle, strong guy. That's masculine, and I'm sure you've noticed that. Roughness, like you see guys playing rugby and stuff. That's very masculine. Women do it as well. Women that are in their masculine. I'll leave that one alone. Goal orientation, right? Being focused on something and going for something. That's a very masculine thing. Empty space, having nothing there is very masculine. It's funny, when I moved to Denver at first, I lived in this apartment, and there was basically nothing in my apartment at all. I had like a bucket, and like I used to be in the military, so I had like this military container that I'd sit on, right? and I just sit on the container and I had like one fork and one plate and I'm like eating food, and I had like my dad came and visited me, and he's like, Matt, I don't agree with your lifestyle. I'm like, what? You know, like, I don't see what the problem is. He's like, you live like a Spartan. I'm like, is that a compliment? I'm not sure. So the next one is purpose driven, like being really like focused and driven on something. And like we said before, it's not like, you know, you have to be in your feminine all the time, right? There's a lot of power in being in your masculine sometimes. If you're going after something, if you're driven for something, if you're in work, right? One of the reasons why we have so many women that are in their masculine right now is because so many women are in the workforce, and that's how you get ahead in the workforce, is you're in your masculine.
Yeah. And
so they come back and they try to date a guy in that because they spend so much time there. They're just used to being in that space. And it like they've been finding that it's just, you know, a guy might see you and he might be attracted to you sexually, but he might not feel like those things where he thinks that you're the one for him, or he thinks that you're long-term relationship material, because he kind of just sees you, he doesn't see you as something amazing and special that feminine draws out in him feeling, right? When he sees that feminine, he's like, oh, it's like this mystery and this amazement and this beauty and this, I mean, it's just so attractive. And when you're in your feminine energy, or when you're in your masculine energy, none of that exists. Right? He doesn't see those things. He looks at you and he's like, yeah, you're hot. Yeah, you're cool to be around. Let's drink a beer together, you know? And then he, you know, you guys hook up or whatever, because we're in the age of the hookup culture. And then he goes home and he doesn't have another thought about it. And you're like, why don't you commit to me? And he's like, why would I do that?
Right.
You know? And so there obviously there's a lot around that, and there's a lot of other things to be said about that. But that's definitely part of it, for sure.
Yeah. And also I want to add, it's not about squashing your masculine energy down. Like, some of these are amazing things. I mean, they're all amazing qualities, like intellectual pursuits, being goal-oriented, going after your dreams is like a great thing. It works amazing in life, not so great in relationships. I think I mentioned before, like, if you have this goal-oriented or results-oriented mentality, like, I'm going to go after this guy, that will push him away, especially if he's a masculine energy man. So it's really about, I like to think of it as ramping up both sides of yourself, ramping up your masculine side, ramping up your feminine side, just using them in ways that are going to work for you in your life rather than against you.
Yeah, and so there's some people saying things, I'm in my head, love meditation. I think my guy complains I think too much. Your daddy says doesn't see. Yeah, just describe my boyfriend. He's very masculine. I wish I could say. Okay, you guys are awesome. Thank you, Mitzi. I really appreciate that. Oh, thanks. You think lots of people think we're awesome. Thank you. I think you guys are awesome too. Yeah.
Every time I hear that, I'm like, what? No way. Tell me.
Tell me more about that.
Get it through my
you guys really want to make Helena feel good? Tell her how awesome she is. She can literally never hear enough of it. So just
I have like a block to receiving, which is funny because receiving is such a feminine energy quality. And like Matt always tells me, you have a block to receiving. You can't like get it through your head when someone tells you something nice. So. But yeah, I love hearing that.
I've had that block as well as too. So the last thing in the masculine energy thing is being serious, right? So being serious is a very masculine thing. But we're being serious here. Being masculine, gotta be serious, guys. Come on. All right, so that's masculine. So next we're gonna talk about how to kind of jump into your feminine, how to experience it. And how to, how to get into some of these things. So if you're like, okay, so how do I get into my feminine? How do I attract a guy into my feminine? How do I get him to kind of fall in love with me in this feminine space? Like, when do I do it? How do I do it? All that kind of stuff. So one of the big mistakes, one of the big mistakes that women make is they will go straight from work to a date. And they will be going from this masculine place into this date space where they want to be in their feminine, but they haven't kind of transitioned out of that masculine energy yet. and it can be really difficult for them to attract a guy in that space. And so one of the things that I wanted to say about this is that it kind of depends on you, right? So how long does it take for you to kind of connect to your feminine energy, in the most, I'm going to say the most effective way, but that's a masculine thing to say. How do you get, what's your experience of getting into your feminine energy? And so there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do it. And what the first thing that I wanted to say about it is that what I found a lot of women have told me has been very beneficial to them is having a ritual around this, right? So creating some kind of thing that they do over and over and over again. Like you come home and you do this thing, and then you're in your feminine energy, and it almost becomes like a trigger, right? Like an anchor or something, where it's like, I do this and I drop into my feminine. And it can become easier and simpler and more direct every time you do it. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I love that. And see if you can think of something that you can do in any given moment, any moment. Like you're on a date with a man. What's your body doing? Are you leaning forward? Are you feeling kind of tense? Just practice leaning back, like totally leaning back. Like tracking your body is something that's really helpful. Like a lot of times if you're not able to get in touch with your feminine energy or connect with your emotions, sometimes I found body sensations are kind of like a gateway into your deeper feelings. So notice if there's some kind of tension somewhere in your body and just put your awareness there. And that's really helpful. I have my clients do that all the time. And it's not about squashing that tension down or making it move somewhere else. It's just about the awareness, because you can't be up in your head thinking or obsessing about a guy and in your body at the same time. It's like one or the other. So you can do that all throughout the day. Just catch yourself. Like when am I up in my head? When am I overthinking or overanalyzing? And when am I totally just like right down in the present moment, like getting inside of every moment so you can actually experience it while it's happening. That's super attractive to men.
So we have, I feel you guys are both family. Oh, thanks. You've known us for forever.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, Helena's voice is very soothing.
Oh my gosh.
I think her voice is very soothing too.
Really? I was having a control freak moment right before we went live, and Matt was like super patient with me, letting me adjust the lighting and everything. So it's nice to hear you say that.
So Lisette says, I turn on music, light candles, light incense before a date to get in a romantic feminine mood.
That's awesome.
That is exactly what we're talking about right now. So thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thank
great.
you for mentioning that.
That's great.
Being in the corporate world has completely drained me, and I know exactly why now. I actually hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. A lot of women tell me that stuff, and it's, it goes back to kind of the thing that we were talking about when we first started talking about stuff on this video, was that a lot of times women tell me that they feel really stressed out.
Yeah.
And then they drop into their feminine energy, and it's like it soothes them and it makes them feel really good, and just it relaxes them, and they just, it feels so nice to be in my feminine energy.
Yeah, it's like when you're over functioning and doing, it's going against our nature as women, which is like to be the receiving partner, the receiving energy in a relationship, for example. So when we can burn out, whereas men can be in this like production mode, and some of men are just like insatiable with this. They like to do things
forever.
Right? But for us, we like to take some time and recharge, because it goes against our nature as the feminine energy partner.
Yeah, so what are some things that you can do to kind of connect to your feminine energy? And I think Helena mentioned a bunch. We had Lisette who mentioned what her ritual was. Here are some other things that you might be able to do. One is getting in touch with your feelings, getting in touch with your emotions. And you had a really good way of doing that, didn't you? Yeah, something about like focusing on how you feel, or it was like this verbal thing, like saying I feel, or I'm feeling or something.
Yeah.
What was it?
One thing you can really do is rather than a lot of women that we hear from, they're all wrapped up in how they feel about a man. Like this is I think a great thing to talk about because we hear that a lot. It's like, oh well, I have all these feelings for him. Like he's so smart and charismatic and funny or whatever it is, and we're completely ignoring how we're feeling about ourselves. So start paying attention to how you feel about yourself in a man's presence when you're with him. Actually, when he's actually right in front of you and when he's not right in front of you. That will help you switch out of this mindset where you're all focused on a guy, which is actually being up in your head, being results oriented, to leaning back into your feminine energy, becoming more process oriented, which is really important. So pay attention to how you feel about yourself in a man's presence. That's totally a foreign concept to a lot of women.
And like just for the visual people out there, because I'm such a visual person, it's the spotlight thing, right? Mm-hmm. Taking the spotlight from being on him and shining it back on yourself, and putting that focus back on yourself, and not how what's going on with him,
what's he thinking,
all
how's
that stuff.
Going,
but
right?
Like how am I feeling? What's going on with me? What are the sensations going on in my body? Mm-hmm. What's going on? What am I experiencing? Maybe not even being able to necessarily name things, but just experiencing it and just getting into it, getting into your sensations, getting into your body, getting into, where do you feel this feeling of yours? Where is it in your body? How do you feel it? How does it come up? Is there a color that's associated with it? Like what are you experiencing? Powerful thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like an emotion that you can label necessarily. Even just like I'm feeling blank, like actually like I'm feeling numb. I'm not really feeling anything. Well, that's some awareness that you didn't have before, but it was going on within you anyway. So it was really good to just get that awareness, even just to start.
Yeah, so the next one is stop doing, mm-hmm. right? And so there's a lot of women come to us and they're like, I want to, what's the next thing? What do I do next? Like, how do I get him to do this? And like, it's almost like ironic or fun. It's just fun. It's interesting because we'll be like, oh, lean back into this and, stop doing. And they'll stop doing, and they're like, okay, that worked.
Yeah.
So what do I do next?
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't think you're getting this quite yet. Yeah. Like maybe you're, doing what we told you to do, but there's kind of this deeper level there, and it is to stop doing. It is to, kind of get connected with yourself, in that space of not doing. And not doing as in not trying to make things happen, not trying to, do whatever
Totally, yeah. It's often that energy, just the energy or the vibe of what's the next step. It's just such a results-oriented masculine energy thing. That will keep a guy at arm's length. That will keep him from feeling safe or feeling compelled to come close to you.
Yep. And so the next one is experiencing, and we kind of talked, we hit on this already, but, just experiencing things, experiencing the moment, getting into the moment, experiencing your feelings, experiencing your body, experiencing what's going on, experiencing sounds and sensations and tastes and everything that's around you, and just being there with it. Can help you really step into that and slow down and, get connected. And it can be really, really, really powerful.
Yeah, I love that you said slow down. I don't think we've talked about that before. Slowing down the tempo of every moment. If you think of relationships kind of like a dance, traditionally masculine versus feminine, the masculine energy partner leads and the feminine energy partner follows. But the tempo of this dance is something that we can actually control. We kind of guide it. So if we can slow down the moment, just imagine, whatever that looks like to you, so you can actually experience it, it will actually make you super attractive, because a lot of times men can be worried that we're always trying to take them somewhere or do something. Even if we're not specifically doing it, sometimes it's just somewhere in our eyes or somewhere in our energy. So if you can really slow things down and lean back, that's what allows a man to feel safe to kind of take over and step into that masculine role, which is what we want them to do, right?
Yeah, so Lisette says, when not doing, will this come across as disinterest? It kind of depends, it depends on a lot of different things. One of the things that I want to say about that first is that you can't necessarily control what a guy experiences, right? And that's that's been kind of a really hard lesson for a lot of women in our community, is that they try to kind of dictate what a guy's experiencing on a moment-to-moment basis, and they want to control how he experiences things. And some guys might, you can do anything, and a guy might experience it in a variable of different ways. You can show a guy interest, and he might think that it's disinterest. You might tell a guy that you're interested in him, and he might think that you're making fun of him and that you're not interested in him, and now you're just being a jerk about it. I actually used to do this, as a matter of fact, which is why I can speak about it so bluntly, is that when I was in high school, I was not good with women at all. And I had women that would come and hit on me. They would come over and flirt with me, and I thought they were making fun of me, like in a mean way. Like, I had no idea. I had no clue that these women were interested in me. And I'd have people come over and they'd be like, "Hey, that girl over there, she's into you." And I'm like, "You messing with me, man?" Like, I had no idea, and I had such low self-esteem at the time that like everything seemed like it was bad, and that people were making fun of me. And so, it could come across as disinterest, right? It just kind of depends. It depends on him. It depends on how you do it. It depends on what kind of a space you're in when you're doing it. So there's a lot of different possibilities there that...
if I could just add something really quick. I talk a lot about space and softness in a lot of my videos, creating space and softness with a man at the same time. So we're talking about stopping doing those things that push him away, like leaning forward and overthinking things and, trying to move things forward. So when you stop doing all those things, you're creating that space for a man to come towards you, which is really important, but I believe it's not enough in and of itself. You also need the softness and the warmth and the feminine energy. So that looks like expressing yourself, responding to him. These are all very feminine energy qualities. So it's not just about stopping the things that don't work. That helps a lot. That's sometimes like 90 to 95% of what all a woman needs to do. Then when a man does come back towards you, it's all about what you do from there. Are you shut down emotionally or acting cold and distant towards him? That will come across like you're not interested. Or are you really warm and open and receptive to him? That's the softness. That's what encourages him to keep pursuing you.
So Madeline says foot spa or have a bubble bath. That sounds like a great thing to do. I might do that after this. So is feminine energy submissive?
That's a good question.
Indulging in a brownie with a glass of red wine. That sounds delicious as well. Hot tea. Lighting up nice smelling candles and enjoying some. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. All right. How to reply to text in a feminine manner. We actually talked about that in another video. So I connect with the feminine the most when I feel chemistry. Swing dancing. Yep. Cup of coffee. Woo. All right. Thanks for, So, the next thing we wanted to talk about, was there something that you wanted? Submissive. Being submissive. Yeah,
that's a great question.
Yeah. So, did you want to talk about that?
Well, it's submissive. It's like it's such a loaded.
Well, there's a lot of people. It's kind of got this really negative connotation these days. Is being submissive, and I don't think it's that negative of a thing. And being submissive, yes, it's a feminine. That's a feminine thing. Is being submissive, I don't know. Like I want to say other things about it because there's like so many negative kind of connotations around being submissive. Here's, I don't know.
Yeah, what I would say is it's not about tolerating bad behavior or just leaning back and letting a guy do whatever he wants and you just accepting it. That is the opposite of feminine energy. Actually having boundaries and knowing where to draw the line, saying no to something that doesn't feel good to you is a really feminine energy place to come from. So it's not about just accepting whatever a guy does and being fine with it. It's the opposite.
Yeah, like
right?
creating a space for yourself so that you can open up and be vulnerable and be in this place of allowing yourself to trust and allowing yourself to go into this space and feeling okay and knowing that, you know, there's these boundaries that a man might hit where, you know, you will respect yourself enough to say something about it and make sure that, you know, he's on board with these things before you go into some of these places with him. And I think hitting those, you know, boundaries is a big topic. We talk about it in other videos, and we'll talk about it again in the future.
Yeah, it's really important.
It's a huge topic.
If you trust yourself, trusting, again, very feminine energy quality, it all starts with trusting yourself, and you have those boundaries, and you trust your boundaries and trust your feelings. That's what allows you to be feminine and playful, because you know where to draw the line for yourself. Yeah,
so the next one is leaning back. So we're going over ways to get into your feminine. One of my favorite things to talk about is leaning back. One of Helena's favorite things to talk about. It's a joke, inside joke that we have. So just so you guys know, is I'm always like, hey, what's the solution to this one, Helena? Is it leaning back, right?
Because it works so well in every and then I started making fun of him because all of his new videos he says lean back, and I'm like, oh really, lean back? You stole my concept. But leaning back, I didn't come up with leaning back. It's just, you know, it's one of those things that physically leaning back, you know, when you're with a man, physically just catch yourself if you're leaning forward and physically lean back. If he's a masculine energy man, he will instinctively start to lean towards you. He'll start to move closer to you. Mentally leaning back, that means getting out of your head, stop overthinking, getting down into your body, into your feminine energy. And then even like verbally leaning back, like not always trying to jump in and fill that gap in conversation. So those are some ways you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And next one is dance, right? Getting into your body and dancing around and just getting into movement and all that kind of stuff can get you really into your feminine energy. And there's a bunch of other ones that people were mentioning on here. You know, the whole candles one, eating different foods, like, you know, just being playful, doing things like hanging out with your puppy dog or your kitty cat. You know, like there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do to kind of get into your feminine energy. And the last thing that I want to say is if you want to know a lot more about feminine energy and really get into it and kind of get help from Helena, our beautiful Helena Hart right here, you can always go and join our program, Feminine Enchantment. Go to feminineenchantment.com and you'll join the Goddess Club, and you'll get the entire program about that and learn all about that stuff. It's really awesome stuff.
And then I answer your questions. I answer your personal questions.
Yeah, every week she answers everybody's questions. Yeah. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So that's everything that we're going to be talking about. I love dancing too. So it's like use feminine energy, receive masculine energy, right? So, you know, it's really interesting. There's so many great people. I love our community here. I love you guys. Love you guys. There's so many great things. There's so many people learning so much. We're having so many different breakthroughs. It's really, really cool. I love everybody that's been a part of our community, that's part of our community on Facebook, that's part of our Feminine Enchantment program, that's part of our email list. Love you guys. We hit 12,000 subscribers on here. We went past it. We went sailing past it. We're going to be at 15,000 pretty soon, and 20,000, and we're going to be the biggest channel. But it's really cool. I really appreciate you guys. And I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you trusting us. I really appreciate all the questions you asked, all the comments that you leave us, all the nice things that you say about me and specifically about Helena, because she just loves those positive comments. I love positive comments too. We get a lot of negative stuff sometimes.
We do.
You know,
it's
and all
tough.
like
it's not for the, what'd you say? It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
But you guys make it so rewarding.
But there's so many awesome people in our community and part of our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for being here. If you want to join Feminine Enchantment, go to feminineenchantment.com. And, you know, otherwise, thank you for being here. Please share this stuff with your friends. Hit the like button on our videos. You know, leave us comments because we think you're awesome. And thank you so much for being here. And that's all we're going to do for today. We are just at the 1 hour mark. So thank you so much. And I hope all this stuff has been really, really valuable for you and you've learned a lot. And we will speak with you again soon. So thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.